Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and today I thought I would share with you some of my recent Booktube favourites. So, this is a new-ish, sort of new series that I'm starting on my channel. I think I introduced it sort of last year and only did sort of one, maybe two episodes. I've been trying to find a more sort of sustainable way to do kind of Booktube shout-outs for ages. Previously I have included sort of recent Booktube favourite videos in my non-reading wrap-ups, which I do every few months, and then I've also done sort of smaller Booktuber shout-outs regularly. And I was doing a series for a while called Small Booktuber Sunday, which I will link the playlist of down below, where I shouted out smaller booktubers every Sunday. However, I realised that I got to a stage where I'd like gone through most of my list, and obviously I am finding new booktubers all the time, but I'm not finding like 10 new booktubers every month for that series to be sustainable. So I thought what I would do instead is combine the elements from my booktube favourites within my non-reading wrap-ups with the sort of small booktuber shout-outs into one video, which I kind of did once a year ago and then haven't done since, but we're doing it again now, and hopefully I will carry on doing this series. I'm not setting myself like targets of how many of these I'm going to do a year. They're not going to be strictly like every 2 or 3 months. I think I will do these when I have enough videos slash channels I want to shout out to link below. So this one sort of covers videos from I think sort of late June to September. I'll probably end up doing another one in kind of November time, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of Victober videos that I want to shout out, but then maybe it'll be another few more months until I do the next one. We'll see. I will keep this fairly loose in terms of the scheduling. I do have a kind of vague sort of structure for these videos in my head. I want to start off each one by talking about a few booktubers I've found since I did the last one who I'm really enjoying, and then talking about a few booktubers who I've been subscribed to for a lot longer but who are kind of current favourites, people whose channels I've just really been enjoying lately. I want to have a special little section for like individual book reviews because I really enjoy watching them, maybe one for sort of new tags that I've been enjoying watching go around when there are them, maybe a little section for videos about classics that I've been really enjoying, and then a kind of like other video general bit at the end. That's my vague plan. But to start off with today, I do have 4 booktube channels that I found in the last few months that I'm really enjoying that I want to mention. One is Infinite Text. I am absolutely loving her channel. It's really great. She is a librarian, she likes classics, she took part in Jane Austen July. She's someone who has been subscribed to me for a while and who has been commenting on my videos for ages, and she's one of those people I have regularly clicked on her channel name from her comments because her comment was so interesting that I wanted to check if she had a booktube channel because I wanted to subscribe, and she didn't have any videos, and then one day she did have videos and I was very excited. I'm really loving her channel so far. She's fast becoming a real favourite of mine and definitely one I would really recommend, especially if you enjoy classics. And then also want to mention Brian from Bookish. I've been really enjoying his channel. It's very chatty and enjoyable. I've especially enjoyed some of his individual book reviews and also his series I think called Book Love, where he talks about sort of physicality of books and sort of actual physical books rather than just the content of the books as well, which I found really interesting, especially his one on sort of fantasy books which he read growing up. Another person I want to mention is Books I'm Not Reading. I've been really enjoying her channel lately. I discovered it a couple of weeks ago and have just been really enjoying watching her discussions, especially on classics of course, and I'll mention one of her individual book reviews a bit later on in this video. And then another booktuber I've recently discovered and been really enjoying is Elaine Howlin. Her videos look incredibly beautiful. They are very nicely edited. She is taking part in Victober, which I'm really excited about, and I've just been really enjoying her channel so far and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it in the future. Those are the 4 new people I want to mention, and then I also have sort of 4 channels I've been really loving lately that I just wanted to talk about. One is Book Break, which is Pam Macmillan's booktube channel, and Pam Macmillan is one of the big publishers in the UK, and Book Break is hosted by Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, whose channel I'll link down below as well. And I've just been really loving Book Break lately. It's been really enjoyable. Emma is a really brilliant presenter, and she is incredibly genuine even when sort of booktubing in a more formal setting, I suppose, within a publisher's channel rather than just her own channel as well. I really enjoy what she's done with the Book Break channel. I think it's been really enjoyable to watch lately, and I've really loved some of its videos, especially its one on Bath when Emma went around the Jane Austen Centre, but maybe that's because I used to work there. But back onto more sort of personal mainstream booktubers rather than publishers' channels. I also want to mention Claudia from Spencer's Library. I think I shouted her out like quite recently as well, but her channel is so great. And I feel like I've been subscribed to her for several months, and it's only in the last like 2 months when she's become like one of my absolute favourite booktubers, one of those people whose videos goes right to the top of my watch later playlist. I really enjoy her channel. She's very witty. I don't mean to say exactly in the 19th century way, but in a somewhat subtle, slightly Jane Austen-esque way, which I've been enjoying. And she also has a brilliant taste in classics and has made quite a lot of interesting discussion videos around reading as well. Another person I want to mention is Libby Stevenson. I'm going to talk about quite a few of her individual videos slash series that she's been doing in the last few months a bit later on, but her channel has just been even extra better than normal in the last few months. She is a booktuber who I find absolutely hilarious as well as incredibly interesting, and I would highly recommend her channel. If you like Shakespeare, you really need to be subscribed to Libby. Also, she's great on lots of different classics and also historical fiction, and also as a job she works in audiobook production, like as a reader, and also editing audiobooks, which is just the coolest job, right? Another person I wanted to mention is Sophie from Portal in the Pages. She is quite a large booktuber. I think she just hit 10,000 subscribers, and I've just been really enjoying her channel lately. I feel like because she is a bigger booktuber, I've never shouted her out or mentioned how much I enjoy her channel, but I've been really enjoying it lately, especially her sort of man booker reviews. Very softly spoken and kind of calming to watch, and her videos are always really enjoyable and very interesting. She has great taste in literary fiction, and I've just been especially enjoying her channel lately, so I wanted to mention that here. Now, onto a few individual book reviews I wanted to mention. There are going to be quite a few, so I will go through them quite quickly, but if you like any of these books or want to hear more about them, these are some really brilliant reviews I would definitely recommend. First one I meant to mention is a review of Pride and Prejudice from Big Al Books. I love her channel, and this was a great review, especially as she didn't necessarily love everything about Pride and Prejudice, but also kind of understood what other people do, so definitely one that I think is worth watching. Another review I've enjoyed is Britta Bowler's review of Washington Black. She's done several reviews of sort of man booker long-listed books, and Washington Black is a book that I've read in the last couple of weeks and really enjoyed, and I found her review of it really interesting. Next, I want to mention a review from Books I'm Not Reading, whose channel I mentioned earlier, but in fact I want to mention two reviews. She read Middlemarch back in August, I think, and she posted two reviews on it, which was really interesting. The first review is a sort of slightly ranty review about why she really didn't like Middlemarch. She filmed that right after finishing it, I think, and then the second review she filmed several days later, having more reflection, and is a slightly more sort of analytical review of Middlemarch. So you get sort of her immediate reactions in one video and then her sort of later thoughts in another video. And I found this really interesting. I also don't love Middlemarch. I really didn't like it when I read it for the first time as a teenager. I did reread it last year and gained some appreciation for it, though not still a love for it. Like, George Eliot is one of my least favourite Victorian writers. She's one of those Victorian writers who I really don't like her writing. I just really don't get on with her writing style. And so it was really interesting to watch the review from Books I'm Not Reading and know that I'm not alone in my dislike of Middlemarch. I also want to mention Marissa from Blakely Bookish's review of Mansfield Park. Marissa and I hosted Jane Austen July back in July, and Marissa finished off Mansfield Park, which was her last Jane Austen book, and she made a really interesting discussion video on it. Mansfield Park is such an interesting book and quite underrated to a certain extent, and Marissa didn't necessarily find it as compelling as other Jane Austen books, but also still found a lot in it really interesting. And yeah, I would just really recommend her video. Mansfield Park is a great book, and I find all discussions of it so interesting because it is one of those very divisive books within Jane Austen, in that a lot of Jane Austen fans love it and a lot of Jane Austen fans don't like it very much at all. Another book review I want to mention is one from Claire Reads Books, which was a double review of two books, a Japanese translated work called Convenience Store Woman and the best-selling Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. And this comparison was so interesting. I haven't read Eleanor Oliphant, but I have read Convenience Store Woman, which I read on Claire's recommendation. And the way she compares and contrasts these two books was really fascinating, looking at the different ways in which these books look at women in their 30s who don't comply with what society expects women in their 30s to be doing and to want out of life. The two books, I believe, deal with it in very different ways, and Claire's review was really fascinating. I would highly recommend it if you've read either of those books or if you're interested in either of those books. Another review I want to mention is one from Natalie from Curious Reader, I think her channel is now called. It was previously called We Need Honey, and this was her book review of We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, which is a book I absolutely love, and her review was just brilliant. I would highly recommend going and watching it. Another video I wanted to mention is one from the Reader's Athenaeum on Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, which is a children's book I really enjoyed, where I think the video is called Is Nevermore the New Harry Potter, and she kind of discusses Nevermore and its relationship potentially to Harry Potter and sometimes the dangers of us marketing lots of books as the new Harry Potter, which I found really interesting. Finally, I have two more individual reviews and then we'll move on to other stuff. It's gonna be quite a long recent booktube favourites. Maybe I need to do these videos more regularly. One I want to mention is Claudia from the Spinster's Library, who I mentioned earlier, her recent review of Persuasion. This year she's doing something called the 1818 Novel Project, where she is reading novels that were published exactly 200 years ago in 1818. and she read Persuasion for this, and I think her review is really, really interesting, especially if you like Jane Austen. Another video I want to mention is Weena Wonder's review of The Name of the Wind. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss is possibly my favourite fantasy novel ever, and Weena didn't love everything about it, which I very much enjoyed hearing about, but I think she also did appreciate some things, which I'm glad about because I highly recommended it to her, as did Nick. It's a really, really interesting discussion video, especially because I love The Name of the Wind, but also there are some things about it that slightly frustrate me, but I kind of let them go because I love it so much. But Weena kind of expanded on quite a lot of them, especially in terms of quoths like relationships with women. But yeah, would highly recommend that video. So I have a few tags I wanted to mention. The first two are original book tags, which I've been really enjoying watching, and then the other two are sort of individual book tag videos that I've just enjoyed seeing. One original tag I really enjoyed is the Bookish Things in Your Home tag by Amanda Jenner, where basically she just went around her house and took video of all the bookish things around her home that are not books. I really need to do this tag at some point because I have quite a lot. I have lots of literary jewellery or literary ornaments or literary pictures, such as my painting of Dickens downstairs and things like that, literary clothing, stuff like that. I think it might be quite a fun tag. Another tag I've really enjoyed seeing going around is a Book Olives Under the Influence of Booktube tag about how Booktube influences reading. I've really, really loved seeing people's answers for this, and when I finally get my act together and think of my own answers for this, I will definitely be doing it. It's a really interesting tag, and I'll link the original video down below. And the other two I wanted to mention are not the original tags, but just tag videos that I think were done really, really well. One I wanted to mention is Stephanie from That's What She Read did the classic and contemporary pairs tag thriller edition. I have really enjoyed watching the classic and contemporary pairs tag go around Booktube, but it was really interesting that Stephanie put her own sort of genre spin on it. Not that I enjoy thrillers very much, but somehow I love hearing Stephanie talk about thrillers, so yeah, would highly recommend that one. Another thing I've enjoyed, Marissa from Blatantly Bookish recently did the Booktube Top 10 tag, and also did a bit of discussion about how to choose your top 10 novels and the difficulties of that, and how can you possibly compare books you've read 5 times to books you've read once, or classics to contemporary reads, and how difficult it is to pick a top 10 of books. It was a really great discussion, as well as finding out her top favourite books. I think I've read like the top 5, but none of the bottom 5, so clearly need to get my hands on some of them. Next, I have a few videos I would like to recommend on classics. I thought it might be useful for people if I use these recent Booktube favourites videos to shout out quite a lot of videos on classics, because I know a lot of people say to me that they like that I talk about classics because not many other people on Booktube do, whereas actually a lot of people on Booktube talk about classics. You just have to look in the right places sometimes. So yes, have quite a few videos I want to mention here that people have made on classics in the last couple of months that I've really enjoyed. The first two I want to mention were made for Jane Austen July. One is from Marissa from Blatantly Bookish on why she loves Jane Austen. It's a really, really enjoyable watch and one I would highly recommend. And another video on Jane Austen from Petra Yu was called Jane Austen and Me, and was a really lovely look at sort of Petra's relationship with Jane Austen and reading Jane Austen. Another video I really enjoyed, which was not for Jane Austen July but is Jane Austen related, is Lil from Lil's Vintage World recently did a video on her favourite Jane Austen books, or talking about sort of Jane Austen's novels from her least favourite to her favourite. Interestingly, I think the list is exactly the order of mine, except the placement of Northanger Abbey, which is very, very different, but everything else is like exactly the same, which is interesting. But there we go. I really enjoyed that video. Lil is great on Jane Austen and also on sort of early 20th century classics, especially Agatha Christie, so I would highly recommend her channel. I also wanted to mention a series of videos from Libby Stevenson as part of her Bard book club, which is a book club all about Shakespeare, and she makes very in-depth, brilliant, so brilliant videos about Shakespeare, which are both analytical and incredibly entertaining. I really, really enjoy her analysis of Shakespeare. If you like Shakespeare, you need to go and check out Libby's channel. It's brilliant. It's so good. I love the Bard book club so much. I have read most of the plays she's talking about at the moment, so I'm just watching the videos, but I think when we get to one I haven't read yet, I'll probably read along as well, and yeah, would highly, highly recommend her channel. And I have two videos I wanted to mention from Lucy the Reader that I've really enjoyed. One is her video on where to start with Thomas Hardy, which is self-explanatory. She is great on Thomas Hardy. And another video I really enjoyed from her is one of her videos that she's made as being the Bronte Society's young ambassador, and this is a video on the Brontes and imagination, where she talks quite a lot about the Brontes' juvenilia, which isn't discussed very much, and I found really, really interesting. And then I have two other classic related videos I want to recommend. One is another from Petra Yu, which is her Victober recommendations video. So if you want some more Victober recommendations, I would definitely head over to that video. And then another video I really enjoyed is another one from Claudia from the Spinster's Library on her least favourite classics. I do have a couple of other videos not to do with classics which I want to recommend before I close up this video. The first two I want to recommend are again from Libby Stevenson, and this little series she started may be my favourite thing on Booktube. It is her series on how historically accurate are book cover costumes, where she takes book covers and looks at the costumes and says, yeah, they weren't wearing that in the 18th century. Yeah, they weren't wearing that in the 19th century. It's the best thing. Like, it's so hilarious. It's just, that is exactly my sense of humour. It's so good. I would really, really, really highly recommend you go watch Libby's videos. They are super, super worth a watch. They're so, so enjoyable and hilarious. If I ever do manage to get a novel published, I would like Libby's seal of approval on the cover before it goes to press. Another video I really enjoyed, though this must be a couple of months old now, was Leanne Rose's All of My Unread Books video, where she shows all of her unread books in glorious time to the music. It is superbly edited and very good fun to watch. Another video I really enjoyed is one from Simon from Savage Reads on historical fiction that he's enjoyed really recently. I love historical fiction and I feel like I don't talk about it enough on this channel because it was really interesting to hear Simon talk about the historical fiction that he's been really enjoying lately. Another video I wanted to mention is Dave from Wild Reads did a great vlog of his visit to Hay-on-Wye, which I think is maybe the town in the UK with the most bookshops. I don't know, it's got a lot of bookshops and it was a really, really great, enjoyable vlog. Then finally I do have one other video I want to mention that I kind of want to talk about the thing the video is talking about as well as just the video, but Harriet Rosie made a video I think a week or two ago which was announcing her bookshelf magazine, which she is starting, which is going to be an online magazine all about reading and books. It sounds absolutely wonderful. I'm really, really excited to read it. It sounds like such a great venture and a really, really interesting thing to do, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So I'd highly recommend you go and check out that video and then check out Bookshelf magazine, as it will soon be. I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it when it opens on the 1st of October, and I think it's going to be a really, really cool magazine. So there we have it. I think that's everything I wanted to mention. Quite a long list of videos and channels in this video, I know, but please do go and check out some of these videos and channels. They're really, really great. Please let me know down below in the comments as well if you like this format, and I will hopefully carry on doing them in the future every few months. So thank you very much for watching. Please let me know if you have discovered any new booktubers in the last few months that you are really enjoying, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.